The Honda S2000. This is what happens when Honda's best engineers come together to produce a car that optimizes excellence in design and performance in honor of Honda's 50th anniversary. This is the very definition of a sports car: front engine, rear-wheel drive, and a manual transmission. It's a modern take on the TVRs and Triumphs of old, mimicking the classic long nose and open-top styling of the classics that came before it. And having spent some time with it, it's easy to see why people love this car.
Just standing next to this car makes my hairs stand on end. It has a design so timeless and so classic, it makes you feel alive even before you get inside. You see, cars just aren't designed like this anymore. What I love about it is that it combines classic proportions with modern design elements to create a car that you know means business without the need for big wings and splitters all over it like today's cars. That long nose and flat wheel arches gives an aggressive stance, and the back end looks amazing with those big twin exhausts. 21 years later, I still think this is one of the best looking cars that Honda has ever produced. The interior is beautifully simple. It has a very driver-focused design, and it even features a cover for the radio so that only the necessary buttons are visible. The seats are very comfortable, hold you in well, and have a good amount of adjustment, but the steering wheel is fixed, so for really tall people, getting comfortable might be an issue. Interiors of 90s Hondas were never amazing, but this one somehow bucked that trend. Every switch and button that you press still feels amazing all these years later, and it looks great. The aluminium shift knob, the beautiful leather-wrapped steering wheel, and the awesome looking F1 style electronic gauges really create an interior that you just love to sit in. So what is it like to drive? Well, interesting actually. I expected it to feel remarkably similar to my Integra Type R, but in reality it doesn't, in some good and some bad ways. First of all, the shifter linkage seen here as opposed to the cable linkage in my Integra feels totally different. This is an amazing feeling transmission. There's no play in gear at all, and the satisfying clunk you get every time you put it through the gears feels absolutely awesome. The exhaust note is different too, not quite as zingy and screamy like older Hondas, but a bit more sophisticated sounding. The engine is truly something special. It's called the F20C, produces 184 kilowatt from just 2 litres of displacement, and it held the world record for the highest specific output for a naturally aspirated engine throughout its entire 10-year lifespan. Torque is 206 Newton meters, a fairly pedestrian number today if I'm honest. And because those numbers come in at over 7,000 RPM, this is an engine you really have to work to get anything out of. But it takes VTEC to a whole new level. This really is a great sounding engine. Handling, as you would expect, is very sharp. And I came into this having watched a few reviews previously, and they said that the steering felt numb because it was electric. And I actually wrote in part of my script that I thought the steering was not going to be that great. But that's totally wrong. I think the steering feels just as good as the hydraulic unit that you get in my Integra. I've never driven this car before, but I feel like I know exactly what the front wheels are doing. This is some great steering. The other thing too, I can feel the back end just starting to rotate as you turn in, so you can tell this is a very well thought out and playful chassis. Formula One tech in this car is all over the place, with the double wishbone suspension and the digital gauge cluster and this amazing feeling transmission. It's a package that still feels fantastic today, and certainly when you change gear you can really feel it through the transmission lever, how direct this transmission is. Oh man, this car is a lot of fun to drive. Words cannot describe how good this thing feels. This car's competitors, you know, the Boxster, the Z4, the 350Z, and of course the MX-5 or the Miata, they just don't compare in terms of driving dynamics. and they don't have VTEC. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want VTEC? What's more, when I see one of those cars driving past, I barely give it a second look. But this, when I see one of these on the road, this deserves a second look every time. One last VTEC. Woohoo!